back to another episode of the Circle of Knowledge podcast. My name is Jon Kovach Jr. I'm your host. I'm also the founder and chairman of Champion Circle Networking Association, a locally based networking association making its way across the United States and into other countries, focusing on the principles of Think and Grow Rich and so much more. We focus on a myriad of principles and truths that lead to the acceleration of success as well as the prosperity of business owners. As your host, I always try to find time and resources to experience and to share all that's going on in the world, in the business world, that can help you overcome any challenges that you might be facing with your business. Today, I want to introduce a guest that I connected through an online platform that will teach us a little bit about the world of coaching and so much more. Before I introduce this person, I can't wait to just tell you that, again, our 13 Steps to Riches book series, Volume 5, will be releasing on Amazon and in Barnes & Noble and in retail stores all over the country. Volume 5, this is the fifth one in like 8 months or 9 months, okay? This one comes out on March 15th, 5 days from now. We already hit #1 bestseller. It is an instant success, even though no one's read it. So we're super excited for people to dive into that one. The stories are amazing, and the principle is on the 5th step to riches, which Napoleon Hill described in Think and Grow Rich, which is imagination. And you're going to love it. It is an amazing book with a wonderful celebrity author. Glenn Lundy will be joining us in that, participating and writing a chapter on the principles of imagination, and you're going to love it. So without any further ado, and by the way, that is a Habitude Warrior project associated with all the Habitude Warrior amazingness, with Eric Swanson leading the pack there. And I just wanted to make that huge shout out. All right, let's get to our guest on the podcast today. This individual is Alex Brueckmann, and I'm going to introduce him. I'm going to share a little bit about him, but Alex is a strategy entrepreneur. He's an author and he's a speaker. We were just talking behind the stage before going live on his shift in working towards being on more podcasts, and he's loving it. He's averaging 3 to 5 podcasts a week being a guest speaker. It's amazing. He built and scaled companies in Europe and in Canada, and led client projects across the world. His passion lies in helping clients build profitable businesses rooted in purpose and impact. He particularly helps entrepreneurs close the expensive gaps in their businesses so that they can increase profits and build the life that they want to live. If you're a regular listener of our show, those are our keywords. Those are our trigger words. That is exactly what we do. Listening into this podcast, please join us as you will on the live show, or tune in as you do when you commute. Bringing into the stage, Mr. Alex Brueckmann. Alex, thank you so much for your time, for your resources, for your knowledge that you're going to share on us, and your flexibility. I know that we've had to reschedule this a few times, but I am just grateful to have you here, and we'll call it pick your brain, but I think that there's better terms for it than that. But how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me, John. Thanks for the kind introduction.
You're awesome. And I always love a really good descriptive bio. I love how creative it is. Sometimes it's hard to listen to our own bio about ourselves, even though we're the ones who provide it to the introducer. It's like, oh man, yeah, that is me. Because you probably feel like a normal person in your world. Normal is you. But I want to know what that is. So Alex, I'll give you the stage here for a little bit. Can you give us a little bit of background? Take like 4 or 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be that long. I know you're very good with words. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, and how it led to the present day.
Originally, I'm a radio host. So I have an education in radio journalism and followed that career path until it seemed no longer viable. And I realized I had a lot of fun along the way. I was always very interested, especially in the music journalism part. So flying around countries, interviewing rock stars was always something that I enjoyed very much, not only because I'm such a music geek, but also because these people typically have very, very interesting life stories to tell. And at that point, I was in my mid-20s when I realized, hey, it's probably not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I started to think about a university education. So I basically studied business administration and tried to go back into the media sphere after that, but kind of did, but not really. So I was working for one of the 10 largest media organizations in the world after I had my degree, and over several years experienced the ups and downs of large corporations, and realized that I learned a lot in those first 5 years, but that I really want to move on, and actually took all the experience that I had gathered working with McKinsey and Company and all these global consulting organizations in my role as a strategy manager for that business to then actually become a strategy consultant myself. So I was really focused on strategy from a business perspective. But at the same time, I was always very interested in personal growth and keeping my own ego patterns in check and just becoming a better leader. And combining those two passions, leadership and strategy, led to me joining my executive coach in building a company called Strategic Leadership Group, which I did for 7 years before I then actually said goodbye to what we've built and goodbye to Germany, where I grew up, and moved with my German-Canadian girlfriend to Vancouver, to Canada, where I started a new business, where I'm right now using what I've learned over the better part of 2 decades to help business founders, entrepreneurs that are in their, let's say, that are at a point where they know they can do better, but just don't have the tools and the skills. So I basically help them with some strategy tools that are widely applicable in all kinds of businesses, but I use them in a way that everyone that can relate to them, everyone can use them. So you don't need a business education in order to understand them. It's not that, let's say, overcomplicated lingo that other companies use. I really use normal words.
I'm so impressed, and your story and brief history caught me up, and I have so many questions. But one question that I might ask on behalf of my audience, I mentioned backstage that I ask questions vicariously through my audience, which is, what was that like to leave something you built, just to up and leave it and to move just completely across the world to a new life, new adventure? Was it really difficult? Was it tough? Was it liberating? Like, what was that like to be able to say, wow, I built this with someone I really looked up to, and now I gotta go? What's that like?
It was a voluntary decision that I took. So I didn't have to leave. I didn't have to go. But the moment I decided with my girlfriend that we would move to Canada and raise our child there, I flew to Iceland to meet the company owner and said, hey, listen, that's the plan. It's 1.5 years down the road. Can we make this work so that it is a win-win situation? And we did. There were no hard feelings involved. And I think it was the right moment for me to leave. So the company started as a one-man show, and I joined as the first employee. And we built it into a company present in 3 countries in Europe, clients around the world with hubs in North America and in Asia. So we built something together that we can be proud of, I guess. And also, I mean, I hired basically every employee in that business in the German business unit. So it's something that I'm still very closely attached to. It's a very emotional ride. From that moment, you decide to leave something that you built behind, to the moment you then actually do it, and then to the period that comes afterwards where you learn to let go. And it was easy to a certain degree to let go because I knew there were the right people in place to take over. We built them up. We We trained them well, we hired them, and it's something that is super important in that context, because then they're not gonna mess it up. Yeah. So you trust them, and that helped me tremendously to let go. And I'm still associated to that company to a certain degree. So they are still one of my clients in the end. I still work for them as a freelancer. And so that process of saying goodbye and leaving it behind is a process that takes years. And it's not just like you wake up in the morning and something is gone and you didn't prepare for it. So you still go through phases where it's easier and other phases where it's harder, and where you ask yourself, was that a mistake? Was that just crazy? Was that the best decision of your life? But life only explains itself in hindsight. So let's see 10 years down the road whether this was a good decision or not.
Oh man, I could only imagine. Thank you for sharing that the way you did. And I know that really helps me understand your background. Are you sure you didn't write the book Cool, Calm, and Collected? Because it just you're full of experience. You've got a lot of knowledge, and it just seems that you are able to channel and take life by the horns. And maybe it's not always that way, but from what I've gathered in our connections and our communications back and forth, and even just here on the show, I can tell that you are very collected in what you do, and every decision, every move is calculated. And also what you said earlier, which was, it was voluntary, it was by my choice. And I really respect that. I think that's a very, very cool way to live life, and also a way to conduct yourself. And there's not a question in there. I was just letting you know that I observed that. But if you have anything to add to that, I'd love to hear.
I actually do. And thank you for saying that. It is very easy from the outside to think that everything is, that I'm collected and everything is pre-calculated. But I think the reason why that might occur is that I have a very clear moral compass in place and a very clear business compass in place. So you introduced me as a strategy entrepreneur, which is exactly right. I help other entrepreneurs and businesses to get their strategy clear. And that is something super difficult for many people, because it means to decide for something and to decide against everything else. And that deciding against everything else scares the hell out of people, because they say like, oh my God, that's pigeonholing me. That's putting me in this one position. What if there's another great opportunity coming my way? Will I not be able to get there, to grab it, and things like that? So it's difficult for them in the beginning, but once they go through the process, they realize how extremely liberating that is. Because it simply means you move from FOMO, the fear of missing out, to JOMO, the joy of missing out, because you took a conscious decision that this is the right spot for you. This is the right target group. This is the right niche in your business. You know whom to serve. You know how to serve these people, and you know how to build your business. That's what strategy is all about. How do you create value for your clients, and how do you capture that value? And once you have identified this spot, everything else is just what it is, a shiny object that you say hello and thank you and goodbye to. And you just know what you want and how you get it. And that, again, enables you to live life in a very free way, because you know you have your ducks in a row, and you're not hustling day in and day out like crazy. You're just spending the time with those people and the things that you enjoy the most, because you know, hey, business is taken care of. I know exactly where I want to go. I do exactly what I need to do in order to get there. Everything else is just not getting done because it's not important to me.
Thank you. I love that answer, and I felt like I learned a few principles in that last share. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing today. Your journey was pretty awesome. You've got some cool things you're working on now. You're still working with in ways the people that you used to work with. Now, tell us a little bit about what you're doing today as a strategy coach or as an entrepreneurial strategist.
So I'm an educated executive coach. And in that context, I help business owners through a process that I defined based on those past 20 years in working with companies, internal and as an internal and external strategy consultant. I defined a process that I help them through. I coach them through a process to create a clear vision for their business. So absolute clarity on what it is they want to see. If they could time travel 3 to 5 years, what would they see? How would their business look like? How would it feel like? And based on this detailed description of what they want to build, I actually help them get clarity on what they need to prioritize in their life and in their business, so that they don't allow any kind of distractions or energy vampires to suck the life and blood out of them, but actually to channel all their resources into what really matters so that they can actually build this business. So it's all about clarity, what you want to build, clarity on how you measure the progress toward this vision, and what is it that you need to focus on. The handful of priorities that will get you there. Let's be honest, you don't need more. It's all about this clarity. And people are often extremely amazed in how fast they can define these things. So I used to work with clients for years in large strategy projects that take 2, 3, 4 years. Today, I'm not working with these global players anymore. I enjoy working with smaller businesses because they are so much faster. They see the change immediately. And that gives me personally more satisfaction in seeing how I can help people immediately. It might have something to do with my passion for gardening. When you remodel your backyard and plant a tree, or you grow flowers or vegetables, you see the result of your work fairly quickly. And that is something that gives me personal satisfaction and calmness. And I decided consciously to work more with these smaller companies, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, sometimes even, or businesses up to several million in turnover. This is something that is not clear to everyone who starts working with me. They always think they embark on an expensive, long journey, and they are always surprised how fast and inexpensive it actually is. So I give you a number. Typically, the time that I work with people, we're talking weeks, maybe a few months. We're not talking years. And when you hire a strategy consultancy to do a big project with you, if you're a large corporation, the agreement starts kind of in the mid 6 figures. So that's not what we're looking for smaller businesses. We're literally looking for low to mid 5-figure engagements that are, depending on how large your business is, of course, how long it takes. But the typical solopreneur I work with, we can get this done in a matter of days.
Wow.
And that saves you so much money down the line. People are often very, very amazed how much they save and how fast they save it. It makes up for the investment extremely fast.
I love the way you put that, Alex, because a couple of things came to my head. First of all, most people are worried about what they have to pay or what the expenses are, and they rarely look at the bigger picture, which is look how much you're saving based on results. And I think that's just phenomenal. The other thing, too, I thought about while you were saying that is we should invest in accelerated results rather than the long-term commitment. I mean, the way that businesses and contracts were built back in the day where, I guess at least at the beginning of the turn of the century, or at least at the top of the decade, which was you usually signed up for contracts that were long-term deals, or, the word retainer comes to mind, right? But I love that you have such fast solutions. And one thing I wanted to clarify and just inquire a little bit more about was there's an art and there's some understanding and there's a lot of background and intelligence, or I guess knowledge, that goes into this type of problem solving for business owners. My audience, given they're usually business owners within the first 1 to 3 years of business, and that's typically where most businesses fail anyways. And so when it comes down to having resources for them and giving them accelerated results, I wanted to pour into you a little bit more because not to take away from what you know and what you do, but there is a simplicity in clarity, but there's still that resourcefulness that once a business owner knows what you can share with them, then they can turn it over and turn their business into a faster producing, more successful looking business. And that comes from the ideas and strategy that you were just talking about. Can you speak into into that a little bit more, as we don't want to undermine the simplicity of it, but we do want to express the importance of dialing deep into the strategic piece of your business?
I believe you can make money with two different approaches in life. You can take something extremely simple and BS it up so that it sounds extremely complicated and you're the only one who knows how to do it. That's what a lot of people do. Or you can take 20 years of experience and distill the essence out of it and give that to people. And that's what I do every step of the way. It's on my website. It's all for free. You don't need to work with me. You can just go on my website. It's all there. I don't hold anything back. But if you feel like you go on my website and you download, for example, the Intentional Strategy Toolkit, and you feel like, that's pretty cool stuff. I wonder what that guy can add in terms of value. If that's for free, I wonder what it is that he gives me when I pay for it. I give you the exact same thing, but I give it to you based on 20 years of experience. So the questions that I would ask you, the acceleration that you can experience in working with someone like me, and I'm not saying with me, because there are other people out there that do similar work in similar spaces. Working with a coach is like supercharging your car. It's like just accelerating your personal development and the development of your business. And for example, when I work with solopreneurs, we're not even talking about 5 figures. We're talking about maybe 5-6 grand in investment that you do. And within a few days, you get the clarity that other people gain in 2 or 3 years, making the expensive mistakes that they make. And you said it rightly so, John. The most businesses fail within the first 5 years. And if you take a closer look why they fail, it is one of the main reasons is because they do not have a proper plan in place. They don't have the clarity in place. They just have a fuzzy idea of what they want to build, of who their clients are. And let's be frank, that might even work for a certain period of time. And they might make a decent amount of money. But then all of a sudden their growth stalls. They realize they have too complex and too expensive systems in place. And they just fall out of love with their own business and maybe sell it, rather than taking a look at it and asking yourself, what got me here won't get me there. So what will get me there? And then take a conscious decision and be like, I better learn something now. It's about learning and development, about the personal approach to leading a business. What brought you into entrepreneurship is not what will make you a successful entrepreneur in 5 or 10 years down the road.
Thank you, Alex. That was so brilliantly put. And I love that you toot our horn. Like, this is the kind of stuff we love to learn about because there's so much. I also want to toot that horn and say, you're absolutely right. The money and the investment you make in yourself by working with a one-on-one coach or somebody who's going to help you find principles in your business, develop the strategies that are necessary, is only going to accelerate the process and decrease the amount of mistakes that will cost you grandly throughout the process. And I absolutely love that. And right now we're busting myths, and I want to kind of lean into that, and let's kind of transition over to our knowledge share. But I know that you came in here wanting to share some knowledge with my listeners about some of the principles that they need to know about strategy. I'd love to ask you, what knowledge do you want to bestow to my audience, and what should people know? And then as a result of that, what action can we take to apply that simple or that piece of knowledge?
The first piece is probably very, very simple, and people will be like, yeah, that's a no-brainer, but that's only on the surface. First of all, you need to understand what strategy means. The term strategy is so extremely misused out there. People use it for all kinds of things because they can't find a better word or because they don't care about finding a proper word for it. So they use the term strategy. Most things that I see out there that people kind of advertise as a strategy, they are nothing but tactics or operational systems. They are nothing like strategy. So first of all, please, if you use the term strategy, understand the term strategy first. A strategy is your map, your way of getting to a certain end goal, something that you want to build. It's way bigger than, I don't know, a marketing tool that you use. When I always cringe is when people ask me, what is your social media strategy? Social media is not a strategy. It's a means to an end. It's a tactic. It's not a strategy. So please, this is something that is the first issue why people struggle with the term strategy, because it's so overly used all over the place that they're like, yeah, whatever, strategy. It's not important. Everyone uses it. So once you got that, the second thing I want people to understand is strategy is extremely simple. Everyone who wants to tell you how super complicated and super complex and sophisticated their process is, throw it out of the window. Everything that's complex and complicated doesn't help you. You need something that is easy, that you can apply without someone holding your hand all the time. So you better look out for something that you can use that works for you in your situation. And the easier this system or this tool or this process is, the more likely you are to successfully replicate it year in and year out, because strategy is not a one-time thing. Strategy is something that you do regularly. It's a muscle that you train. Because 6 months down the road, guess what? You need to revisit your strategy and you need to adjust it, because some of the projects that were in there, you successfully threw overboard because you realize you don't need them, and others you implemented successfully. So you have space for other things, for new things. You've reached a new plateau, so you can build from there. Strategy is extremely simple. Ask yourself, what is the value that I want to create for my clients? What is the value that I want to create for my employees? And how do I create that value? How do I do it? What do I need to focus on? What are the priorities? That is what business strategy is, an answer to these questions. And I think a good strategy has 3 simple elements. Knowing where you want to go with your business, that's your vision statement. And I'm not talking about that marketing thing that you write on your website. That's not a vision statement. That's marketing. That's different. So a vision statement is a clear description, 6, 7, maybe 10 sentences, clearly describing the type of business you want to create or that you want to grow. And then you need to know how you get there and how you measure your progress. You can't just write down a vision statement and then do like 3 years, whatever you've been doing for the past 3 years, and hope that you will get there. It's not going to happen. What you need to do is to clearly understand, how do you measure on a regular basis, let's say quarterly, that you're moving the right KPIs into the right direction. And these are not operational KPIs. These are strategic KPIs that show you, like in a car dashboard, that everything is kind of in check. So we're not talking about SpaceX with tons of buttons and God knows what. We're talking about 2 handful of KPIs, like in your car. Am I going at the right speed? Is the outside temperature good enough? Do I have enough electricity in my battery? Things like that. And then it's really about allocating your entire resources toward those priorities, and nothing else gets done, because everything else is a shiny object. And if you do something just because it's fun, yeah, that's called a hobby. That's not building a business. If your business is successful, you will have fun with it. So you will also have time for your hobbies, but you should not just do something because it's fun. It should serve what you want to build. Sorry for the rant.
Not random at all. In fact, I was going to comment and say, Alex, that I bring a number of people on this show, and I do this on purpose because there's a fine balance in the world of business. I've learned that the fastest way to develop yourself is to start a business, because it'll put you on personal development fast track, and then there's resources and learning. And you've hit that on the head today, and I love that. And I also wanted to mention that as I bring multiple resources on this show, one thing that I love is that you have the tactical, strategic, and moving thinkers, which are actually very few, versus we'll call them the manifestors and the believers and dreamers. And both are important in their own way and mind, especially when it comes to personal development as a professional and as your business is considered an entity by most governments, that it also carries its own professional development. And because it's developing, there's a strategy or even a background that requires knowledge. You reminded me of a course I took in college that was all about defining your campaigns, aligning with your mission, creating your purpose, and then it led down all the way to two things: strategies and tactics. But there's a huge difference, and I think most people, like you hit it on the head today, get the tactics mixed up with the strategy, thinking they're strategizing, but they're just doing work. They're spending hours of their time doing work that is not necessarily the means to the ends. And I really appreciate your perspective on that and how you shared it, because it's a really great reminder to us that business is not a thing that you should spinning your wheels on. It's something that you can usually turn into a hobby, a fun, and something that will definitely attract results in our lives. And I just want to thank you for that. That was brilliantly said and brilliantly told. Anything you want to add to that?
I believe if you out there be like I'm looking for the one solution that's helping me in my business, and you observe yourself kind of checking out that next marketing online course as a solution to that question, you should feel that something is off. Marketing is not solving your business problems. And all these great solutions out there that tell you about how to use a certain social media platform, or how to, how to create your next online course yourself to diversify your revenue streams. These are probably all great ideas. The question is, does that fit where you are right now? Do you know why you want to do this and how this serves the bigger picture? And very often, people come to me with great ideas. And in the process, they realize that some of these ideas are actually really great ideas, and others are just kind of patches that they try to put on a bleeding wound in their business. That doesn't stop the wound from bleeding. It's just a patch. It will eventually start to bleed through again. So when you are at a place in your business, especially in those first years are magical. You try to do whatever you want to do, and there are things that you feel drawn towards, and the curiosity comes into play. And as I already said, it's all a lot of fun. But if you really want to become an entrepreneur, you need to take your business serious as a real business. And then there is no way that the next marketing course will actually help you get all ducks in a row. You need to know why you want this marketing course. And you only take those kinds of courses when you have figured out your overarching business strategy. Otherwise, it is money down the drain. It will not help you.
I thank you. I mean, we're throwing out all the common beliefs here, and we're explaining the simplicity, the foundations, and the things you need to know. And I appreciate that, because it's very, very easy, very attractive, very consuming to get sucked into these various marketing things like social media.
I tell you one thing, John. Yeah. I'm working with a person that's helping me in building my platform, meaning the people that I reach through the work that I do, the books that I write, etc. And that person just last month said to me something that I had a hard laugh at, because she's so right. She was like, Alex, so I worked with her. She was my client. So this is how we then met. And she said, people don't realize what you do because it's not sexy enough. We need to sexy your business up. Like the marketing courses out there, like all those gurus that sell their niche idea as the best thing since sliced bread. So we need to make your business, we need to make strategy more sexy. You're not sexy enough. And I started to laugh so hard. And I said, I'm in my mid-40s, half bold. No way you get me sexy.
That's classic. And that's funny too, because that's essentially what, that's essentially the definition of marketing, is taking something and putting some shine on it. It's it's great. But Alex, I've learned a ton, and I can speak for my audience and say that this has been very helpful in recognizing the simplicity of business. I'd like to send people an opportunity to go and discover what's on your website and to learn more. You've mentioned there's lots of resources there. And if they're even interested in learning and connecting with you, I'd like to post that so that they can connect with you. If you guys are interested in learning more from Alex or wanting to connect with him or just, follow him on social media or any one of those brands, you can go to his website. And his website is, and I'll put it up here in the box here so I can read it out loud. Having some, there we go. Come on, bring it up. There we go. Learn from Alex Brueckmann. AlexTheStrategist.com is where you can reach Alex and learn more from him, about him, and what he's got going on. And Alex actually has provided you guys a free intentional toolkit, one thing to help you get strategy. And he mentioned it himself, like go learn, surf his website and understand, what he has to share. And if it makes sense, obviously contact him and, develop a relationship and move forward. But this is a great, amazing resource. And I love people who have the heart of teaching and educating and getting them on track like Alex does. You can go and get that toolkit at brueckmann.ca/toolkit.
Or you just go to alexthestrategist.com and click learn more. It's right there on the landing page.
Perfect. Yeah, there's a series of clickables available at your disposal. So that's amazing. And Alex, thank you for your time today. And I really appreciate your down to earthness. We'll call it that. But you've got, I know that we've just barely breached the surface. You've got so much more that you can share and teach and train. And I want to make sure that my listeners have the opportunity to learn more from you as well. You mentioned author and book. Do you currently have a book out there that we could say hello to and go find on Amazon or somewhere out on the internet?
It's not yet out there. So we're in negotiations with publishing companies now. And let's see how fast we can publish. If you want to publish fast, publish yourself. But I said, let's try. And so far it was a successful journey, but there is another book in the making that will come out mid this year, which we self-publish. It's a multi-author book, an anthology based on an event that I ran in February this year. So there will be like 12 to 15 chapters about transformational entrepreneurship, which is very, very interesting because like half of the people that are in the book are really well-known, successful business authors. So it's a myriad of knowledge that's coming your way through that book.
I'm pumped up about that. And Alex, welcome to the Circle of Knowledge family. We appreciate you being on our show. With that being said, keep us updated as we do updates all the time on social media, and we share just what's going on in the worlds of those who we bring onto our show. So we want to keep up to date with you. When that comes to fruition, let us know so we can go grab a copy, learn more about it, and good luck with you. And by the way, the book series I talked about at the front end of this this podcast is a multi-author book. We work with celebrity authors as well as contributing professionals in their fields. So I love that. I love that that's where you start. I love that that's what you have, and can't wait to be an advocate for you and what you do.
Thanks so much for offering your support, John.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any last words before we cue the outro?
No, we're good to go.
Awesome. And that's what I love too, guys, about Alex is he knows what he says, he means it, and he doesn't need to repeat it. And he's just great at closing that. I appreciate that, Alex. And with that being said, this has been another awesome episode of the Circle of Knowledge podcast. Get your notebooks out and continue to learn. And with all that being said, you can accelerate the process of success in any part of your life if you rely on the service of others, and in this case, getting with a coach who can help you get to the bottom and the structure and the foundations of your business and develop a real strategy, not get lost in the tactics of your business. With that being said, Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, we will have another awesome episode of the Circle of Knowledge. Everybody, see you later.